Hello and welcome to 2026 Open Day Countdown, a series where we count down to opening day by previewing all 30 teams in MLB. Yesterday we spoke about the Seattle Mariners, and today we'll be talking about the Chicago Cubs. Last year, the Cubs finished a record of 92-70, second place in NL Central. They won in the NL Wildcard Series over the Padres in 3 games, but they lost in the NLDS to the Brewers in 5 games. They traded for Tugger last offseason, and it worked sort of well. They didn't make it to the World Series, but they still did pretty well overall, and now they're trying to keep it going by signing Bregman. They traded for Edward Cabrera as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the Cubs infield is quite good. First base you have Michael Busch, third base Alex Bregman, and then in the infield you have Horner and Swanson. Horner and Swanson is sort of like average hitters offensively, but they're very good defensively. I'd say they're each like among the best defenders at their respective positions, like Horner at second base, Swanson at shortstop. And then Bregman, he last year he had a 125 WRC plus and a 120 BFIP plus. He's someone where he doesn't hit the ball too hard, and but he does pull the ball in the air a ton, and that's why he hit well last year. And there is sort of like worry that maybe he doesn't hit as well in Wrigley, which I think he will take a little bit of a hit, but I think he's still an above average hitter at Wrigley just because he has like I know like comparisons with Paredes are there, but Bregman has more power than Paredes. He can actually hit. He has enough power to hit the ball out of the park. Yeah, most when he pulls the ball like out of most parks. So I think Bregman should still be an above average hitter. Like maybe he's not 120, but he could still easily be like 115 WRC plus. And then Busch, very good hitter last year, 140 WRC plus and 145 BFIP plus. He's someone that was platoon last year against righties, 151 WRC plus and 153 BFIP plus, and against lefties. He was essentially an average hitter by BFIP plus, although below average by WRC plus. But I believe that Busch will be seeing time every day this year against both lefties and righties. And if he hits like this league average BFIP plus against lefties, well, then he's obviously going to be like a much better hitter overall. Yeah, very good infield. The outfield obviously doesn't have Tucker, but it's still very good. Seiya Suzuki and Wright, 123 WC plus last year, but a 134 BFIP plus. Underperformed his peripherals, like expected to be a lot better. In center you have Pico Armstrong, who it was a tale of two halves for him. Like first half MVP caliber, second half basically replacement level. The thing with PCA is that he does have like pretty drastic platoon splits as well. 129 WC plus and 117 BFIP plus against righties, and against lefties, 59 WC plus, 88 BFIP plus. So I think, uh, although I think PCA will be playing every day to start the year, I think ideally he should be platoon, and the particular lines I have for him does have him in a platoon, and we'll get into that when the particular lines are there. But yeah, Pico Armstrong, like still a solid hitter. Like if he can bounce back and show some more consistency, then I think he should play his way into an everyday role. But I think if you're trying to compete and like no margin for error, then you should probably platoon PCA. And then left field, Ian Happ, like very consistent, very good defender out there. 116 WC plus last year, 119 BFIP plus. Good against both righties and lefties. Against righties, 122 BFIP plus. Against lefties, 108. Although WC plus is a little bit lower, so. But I think he'll bounce back in that regard. So yeah, that's the outfield. As then one more thing I want to touch on is the catching tandem. Well, trio more like. Carson Kelly, Moises Ballesteros, and Miguel Amaya. Last year Amaya was good offensively by his WRC plus, but it was a small sample, and BFIP plus was a little bit lower. So I think Amaya is sort of going to be that bench catcher. Carson Kelly, better defensively, also sort of broke out last year, although it was a little bit front loaded as well. He was like still an above average hitter by WC plus and BFIP plus, and I think Kelly like good against righties, good against lefties as well. So I think he's probably an everyday guy. And Ballesteros, not great defensively, but he was a good hitter overall, though he was platooned. You can see against lefties, only 4 plate appearances. He did play well, but it's only 4 plate appearances, so I'm not really gonna care about that. Against righties, he was still solid, 145 WRC plus, 111 BFIP plus. So I think he's probably going to get platooned. Probably at DH most likely, just because Preston Kelly's the everyday catcher, and so want to give Ballesteros some time like in the lineup, but not at catcher. So yeah, that's what I have for the lineup. As for the pitching staff, they did like bolster the pitching staff pretty well this offseason. Edward Cabrera was their big trade acquisition from the Marlins. They traded top prospect Owen Casey plus more to get him. Cabrera broke out last year. 137 innings, 353 ERA, 377 BFIP. Not like elite, but he does have like elite velocity and just like elite stuff across the board. So Cabrera, I want to call him the number one just because where is he? Matthew Boyd, like Matthew Boyd last year was an all-star, 321 ERA, but BFIP was a little bit lower. But I do think Boyd ends up being like the ace or the opening day starter. I think it was actually already announced that he will be the opening day starter. So Boyd is T1. Horton is probably the 2. Just like he's already been there, 267 ERA. But BFIP isn't crazy about him, but he does have good stuff. So I think you can expect some positive regression. But like a number that's better than what his BFIP was, but I don't think he'll be as good as the ERA last year suggests. He's maybe somewhere in the middle, which is like 3.5 ERA. And that's fine as your 2. So like Boyd as 1, Horton as your 2, Cabrera as your 3 is a pretty good top 3. You are like hoping for more obviously, but still very good top 3. And then to round out the rotation, you have Taillon and Imanaga, who are pretty average arms, like 3.7 ERAs for each. 3.95 BFIP for Taillon, 4.42 for Imanaga. So then you also have Conray, who not great last year, but gives you a ton of innings. Like he's probably gonna be like their long reliever, like slash like 6-man, I guess you could say. I know like Ray was pretty good down the stretch when it came to like ERA and also peripherals, but I'm not too sure if that's sustainable. But I think he'll be solid in like that long relief role. And if you get like a 3.95 ERA out of him again, then you take that obviously. Okay, that's what I have for the rotation. Onto the bullpen. Uh, it's a very good bullpen. Like Palencia, if the day that I'm recording this was the WBC final, so Palencia got the save for the Venezuela in the ninth to clinch the WBC for Venezuela. It was very electric moment, and Palencia is honestly like one of the best, like one of the better relievers in baseball. Like if not one of the best, like I'd say is easily like top 10, if not like top 10, maybe top 15. I'll have to like look into it, but Palencia 291 ERA last year, 261 BFIP, and then you haven't set up man and failed maintenance time and Hunter Harvey. Harvey didn't allow a run last year, but it was only 10 innings. The BFIP 133, small sample of course, but I think Hunter Harvey like he has very good stuff and sneakily like very good command. Like he doesn't walk that many guys. I know like small sample here, but he is like a guy who usually doesn't walks like 6% of batters he faces. So Harvey's a very good arm in the back end of that bullpen. Phil Maton as well, like 279 ERA, 250 BFIP. All the peripherals like 250 to 3 ERA estimators. So yeah, very good back three in the bullpen. You also have Caleb Diawar, who's a lefty in that bullpen. Kobe Milner is another lefty though. Diawar is a better, like higher leverage, like more strikeouts, less walks, and then just generally like pretty to be a better arm. And Jacob Webb, another solid arm in there, above average by BFIP. Maybe not a 3 ERA, but probably like 3.5. Still very solid. Shelby Miller, Porter Hodge, these two are going to be hurt to start the year. And also, I'm going to include Justin Steele, even though he's a starter. They're all going to be hurt to start the year, but like when we get into the particular lineups, like I think like once they come back, they can like bump out some guys who are like at the bottom of the depth chart. So let's get into two bigger lines right now. So catcher of Preston Kelly, again, like he's probably like that everyday guy. Ballesteros strong side platoon at DH with Matt Shaw, which I'll get into in a bit, and then Miguel Amaya is just on the bench essentially. First base, no platoons. Michael Bish at first, Horner at second, Bregman at third, Swanson at short. I do have Matt Shaw like as a short side platoon at DH, and I do think, even though he is like a DH, I think what will end up happening is like Shaw is sort of that utility infielder where he's going to be playing second base, third base, shortstop, and then one of these three will be the DH, and then that's just like giving guys days off, like keeping guys rested. That's a he's a very good like bench piece in my opinion, Matt Shaw. Even though I think I'm not really a fan of him, just like off because of off field stuff, but Matt Shaw, very good bench piece, like very solid. You can see like against lefties, 107 BFIP plus last year, 125 WBC plus, so definitely expected to be an above average hitter against lefties. Although like I get like Bregman, Warner, like actually like Swanson like a little bit worse, but those three like can like move to DH and Shaw can give like play their position. Left field Ian Happ, right field Seiya Suzuki. Not much to touch on for them. Like, again, like they're consistent bats. Like against righties, are both very good. Against lefties, Happ is Seiya Suzuki is like very good. 166 BFIP plus. Happ is okay, but still like above average. And then center field have a platoon Pico Armstrong and Kevin Alcantara. So yeah, like Pico Armstrong like not great against lefties, and I know Kevin Alcantara doesn't really have a great sample in MLB, only 12 plate appearances overall. But the thing with Alcantara is that AAA he was an okay hitter, 109 WRC plus and 100 BFIP plus. But if you look at the splits for him, against righties he has a 762 OPS, but against lefties that bumped up to 988. So almost 1,000 OPS against lefties for Alcantara in the minors. So that should definitely translate to at least average production, maybe even above average. And I definitely think that Alcantara can handle lefties at the big league level. So I would platoon Alcantara with Pico Armstrong. Although if Alcantara struggles or if Pico Armstrong like goes back to his MVP form, then you can definitely have Armstrong as the everyday center fielder, and then maybe you can like have Alcantara instead of Shaw at the DH, or maybe you can have Alcantara like giving some off days to Happ or Seiya, who are well mostly Happ because he's not as good against lefties, although like still he saw it again. So yeah, that's what I have for the lineup. Onto the pitching staff: Boyd, Horton, Cabrera, Imanaga, Taillon. Again, like I show everybody. Like Cabrera is solid, like Taillon is solid, like Imanaga, Horton, Boyd are sort of okay. Like it's definitely an okay rotation. Like I'd say like probably average, but you're sort of like hoping for some guys to step up. Like you're sort of hoping for Edward Cabrera to step up. You're hoping for Imanaga or Horton to Imanaga to return to form, or Horton to become the prospect he's built to be. But let's say you still have a little bit of depth. Like Steele on his side can definitely fill in, and once Steele comes back from injury, or someone gets hurt, then side steps in, then like you still have like two good arms that like can fill in as needed. But you sort of like are like hoping for like someone to step up, but you don't need like everybody to step up. Like let's say Imanaga is sort of pitches like a 4.42 ERA next year, but Horton pitches like has like a low 3s ERA, and Cabrera also has a low 3s ERA. Then you can sort of get by, and like definitely like do well with that. But yeah, still a pretty solid rotation. Bullpen, very good. Palencia, Mayon, Harvey, very good back three. Teobar, Webb, Milner, definitely like solid arms as well. And then Ethan Roberts, I just want to touch on. Like he's like if you're the guys that I like or Riley Martin is a prospect, a relief prospect that I like. He had a 269 ERA at AAA and a 355 BFIP at AAA last year. He's also lefty, so that gives you like another lefty looks. But Martin got optioned already, so he's probably not going to be on the opening roster. But one of the few guys who hasn't got an option yet is Ethan Roberts. Again, like small sample in the big leagues, but at AAA he had a 216 ERA, and a 384 BFIP, both above average marks. So, and also he has pretty good stuff. So, I just went with Roberts just because like he's a solid back end arm. Like could end up doing more. If not, they can probably just option in pretty early on and then go with someone like Riley Martin or another guy. Yeah, that's what I have for the predicted lineups. Onto the win projection. A few guys with a ton of wins, like Hap, Suzuki, both projected for 4+ wins. PCA projected for 2.6, so he did have 3.8 last year, basically the same as Suzuki and Hap. And a lot of guys who had like 3 wins last year. Like all these guys had around 3 wins also. Yeah, just pretty much all those guys. And but like of course like Matthew Boyd, he was not as great the previous year, so he's projected for only 2 wins. Imanaga, like you're hoping for a bounce back to the 3 wins, but last year had 1 win, so he's sort of like projected to be somewhere in the middle, 1.7 wins. You still have like some decent guys like good depth, good top of the offense, very good defense numbers as well. Like Hap is a very good defender, Bregman's a good defender, Horner and Swanson are great defenders. Pico Armstrong is elite at center field. So yeah, very good roster. Win projection has them winning 93 games, which is essentially in line with the last year. But because the Brewers are sort of like taking a step down because they did like trade a few guys, the Cubs are actually projected to win the division and are projected for the third seed behind the Dodgers and the Phillies. But yeah, like they do like have a shot to compete like for the second seed and sort of get that bye. Like it's just a matter of like let's say can Shota Imanaga like bounce back? Can Matthew Boyd like sustain his success? Can Kate Warren pitch like sustain like last year's projection over a full year? And if he doesn't, that's probably like 3 wins. And then you do have like a lot of talent on the roster, and if some of those guys steps up, then it can be a very good year for the Cubs. But yeah, that's what I have for the Cubs. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.